My wealthy neighbor offered to pay for my son's cancer treatment if I sold him my home at half its value. Today, 5 years later, I invited him to our housewarming party. The letter from Hope Children's Hospital arrived on the same day as the third foreclosure notice. My son Charlie's leukemia treatment would cost $380,000. Insurance denied coverage for the experimental protocol that offered his only real chance. The bank wanted our house that night. Michael Bennett knocked on our door. I hardly knew the man. He'd bought the mansion next door 6 months earlier. In our working-class neighborhood on the edge of gentrification, his Mercedes and tailored suit stood out like diamonds in dirt. I couldn't help overhearing your conversation on your porch earlier, he said, extending his business card. I might have a solution. My wife Sarah and I had been arguing outside about whether to cash out her retirement for Charlie's first treatment. Not exactly our proudest moment, but desperation does that. The next day in his mahogany-paneled study, Michael laid out his proposal. He would pay for Charlie's entire treatment upfront. In exchange, we would sell him our home a century. Old craftsman I'd spent 10 years restoring for exactly half its market value. I've been wanting to expand my property line, he explained, swirling amber liquid in a crystal glass. Your house would be torn down for my tennis court and pool extension. The house was worth $420,000. He was offering $210,000 plus the medical bills. We'd lose our home, the garden Sarah had nurtured for a decade, and about $200,000 in equity. We'd also get to keep our son. I need your answer by Monday, he said. These medical spots fill quickly. That weekend was the longest of my life. Charlie was 7 with a gap-toothed smile and dinosaur obsession. The treatment had an 83% success rate. Without it, doctors gave him months. Monday morning, I signed the papers with a shaking hand. What followed was a blur. Charlie's treatment began the next day. We moved into a tiny apartment across town. Michael's crew arrived with bulldozers before we'd even finished packing. The treatment was brutal. Charlie lost his hair, his energy, and 20 pounds from his already small frame. But slowly, cell by cell, he began to heal. Michael never asked how Charlie was doing. When I ran into him at the grocery store 6 months later and tried to express my gratitude despite everything, he cut me off. Business is business, he said coldly. I'd have paid less if I could. 2 years later, Charlie was declared cancer-free. I'd taken night classes in coding, eventually landing a job at a tech startup that went public last year. Sarah's small bakery business started in our apartment kitchen now had 2 locations. Last month, we bought the property directly across from Michael's mansion, a rundown Victorian twice the size of our old home, with a perfect view of the tennis court he rarely uses. Yesterday, I mailed Michael a housewarming invitation with a handwritten note. Business is business. We'd have paid less if we could. When he arrived today, champagne in hand and confusion on his face, I introduced him to Charlie, now 12, tall and healthy, captain of his swim team. Michael's eyes darted between Charlie and the house, calculating what had happened. You know what I realized, Michael? I said quietly as Charlie showed his mother the gift Michael had brought. Some investments take time to mature. You got your tennis court, and we got something more valuable. He didn't stay long. But as he was leaving, I saw him really look at Charlie for the first time. This vibrant boy who wouldn't be alive without his callous bargain. For what it's worth, Michael said, hesitating at the door. I'd make the same deal again. I nodded. So would I. Some victory parties are decades in the making. And sometimes winning means different things to different people.